Now it's with great pleasure that I welcome our second speaker, Fiona Dunbar. Fiona is the director of the Ellie Language School in Malaga. She has been working as a teacher, trainer, manager for some 25 years. She is also a team leader for the Cambridge English Young Learner exams, and she's particularly interested in personalisation, motivation, and creativity and their impact on second language acquisition. So today, Fiona's talk will also be aimed at primary, and it's called Keeping It Real. Welcome, Fiona.
Louise, lovely to see you all again.
Lovely to
And
see you.
thanks to everybody for joining us this afternoon. I hope you all enjoyed Dave's session. It looked very interesting. He had lots of great ideas there. So as Louise said, today I'm going to be talking about keeping it real, talking about real communication in the language classroom. And of course, these times we know that we're all they're unusual times. Most of us are teaching online, teaching maybe distant, although maybe little by little people are beginning to get back into the classroom, to think about getting back into the classroom that we're more familiar with. And so today I thought we'd have a look at some ideas, some fun ideas and activities which are going to hopefully motivate our students to be really communicating with each other. So first of all, let's have a think about what we're actually doing. You know, why do we learn language? Why do we learn any language? Our first language, other languages? We learn them to communicate with other people, to share ideas, share our thoughts, our feelings, our queries, our doubts, our fears, and to provoke a reaction. Of course, if we think about babies or people who can't speak a language, then we use body language and gestures and other ways to communicate those things. But then we learn language to make those things easier. So if we think about what communication really is, I've got this definition here from the Macmillan Online Dictionary, which let's have a focus on exactly what it's saying here. It's saying that we're talking about giving information or making emotions or ideas known to somebody. Now, of course, these things, when we actually stop and think about it, these things are all reflected in the 21st century skills, the soft skills, the things that people really need, the real life skills that we talk about that our kids are going to need in the future to succeed. So if we're giving information, then we're using those critical thinking skills. We're thinking about what we want to say, thinking about how best to explain it, taking our knowledge and expressing it. Sharing emotions with people is, of course, our emotional intelligence, and sharing our ideas, making our ideas known to people is tapping into creativity. So sometimes when we think about communication, we don't realize how much heart is involved in it. Sometimes we think about it as being very, very functional, and I use words to say something and people listen and they use words to say something, but there's actually a lot more going on there. And I think it really is at the heart of these things that we want our children to be learning and to be using to succeed in the future, not only in terms of language, but also in other skills that we want them to take away with them. So why do we communicate? We communicate to find information or share knowledge. So I know something, I'm going to tell it to you, or I'm going to ask you to tell me something which I don't know. To talk about ourselves, share, as I said, share your ideas, your emotions, and to learn about others. And by doing that, it really helps us to break down barriers. Now, I'm sure all of you are, I'm an English language teacher. That's my subject, that's what I'm teaching people. But when I look at this list of communication reasons for communicating, I think surely these are things that you would want to happen in any classroom. You want children in any classroom to be able to talk about themselves, learn about others, and break down those barriers. And I think one of the key things that we do with our children in the primary classroom is to make them feel part of the group, to help them know more about themselves, know more about their friends, and the importance of finding things in common. You know, I'm going to find a person who thinks the same as me, or I'm going to find somebody who has a similar hobby to me. We have things in common, and that's going to strengthen my relationships and strengthen my position in the classroom. So, as I say, these are things that we'd want to go on in any classroom. And of course, if we're teaching language, we're teaching communication. That's what we're wanting our students to do. Now, I did a session which some of you may have seen a year or so ago with Louise, where I was talking about communicative competence. And these are just a couple of quotes which I think are worth considering from Wang. The essence of English teaching is communication. It's really the heart of what we're doing here. And communicative competence is the initial and ultimate goal of English teaching. Now, we're not going to be talking today in any detail about communicative competence, but of course it involves all those different things which are involved when we're trying to communicate with people and to say and to hear and be heard, which is really what we're trying to do. So, what makes a communication activity successful? This is an opportunity for you to tell me what you think. Have your say. So please participate. Send in your ideas. What do you feel makes communication activity successful in your classroom?
Okay, so as Fiona says, this is an interaction, so you have the opportunity to send in your ideas to this question: what makes a communication activity successful or not? And we'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. That's okay. One has come in already. So I'm not going to say any more. I'm just going to say one answer is opportunities, having opportunities. I presume they're talking
Absolutely.
about exposure and practice, children enjoying it. So how the feelings are within the activity.
Yeah.
Topic, having an interesting topic. The presence of interaction, children interacting with each other, pupils interacting with each other. So a lot of people are saying that actually interaction is a key element. Another person is saying that there's feedback. There should be
Yeah.
feedback. To feedback, of course, when you're interacting with somebody else, you want them to feedback to you. You want to know that they're listening to you. So, and that's verbal, I suppose, and physical body gestures, etc. So there are lots of ideas. Yes, all of these, I think you would agree, Fiona, are
Yeah,
absolutely key.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
So when
absolutely. A lot of people are
yes,
talking there about the activities being fun, about interaction, about everybody being involved, empathy,
exactly.
um, discovering that English
Advocate.
is useful. I think that's an interesting one. I think
Yes,
that's absolutely key with our primary students for them to see that English is a real thing that they can really use.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And it's an opportunity for them to discover English as well. No, to discover their ability. I think one person is saying, and the chance to say meaningful things. And final
absolutely,
point that everyone participates. That's key. Okay, well, thank you,
definitely,
everybody, for all your answers.
definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, so some great ideas there. And I think a lot of these things have been covered then. These are the ideas that I came up with. Participative, the students are participating, they're enthusiastic, they're motivating, they're working together. That reflects, I think, a lot of the ideas of what people were saying. And I think that's really true. We all know that feeling, which is a wonderful feeling as a teacher in the classroom when you can see and hear your students really talking to each other. They're all involved. working together, they're motivated, everyone's participating. It's a magic moment in the classroom. And so what we need to think about then is, how do we create that moment? How do we get to that, you know? Of course, communicative activities, one of the beautiful things about them is that it's the students who are doing the work, shall we say. It's a moment for us, if we're lucky, if it goes well, it's a moment for us as teachers to sit back and enjoy seeing what's happening just for a second. Of course, there's a lot of preparation involved there in the activities. Now, as I said at the beginning, everybody's really busy in the classroom. I know that we're all busy teachers, and never more so than at the moment. So I think the key with communication activities, communicative activities, the key is not to have an activity that's overly complex, but to take the time when we're planning to think about a few key things. Now, for me, I think the key points that we need to consider are the topic. I've put these into a little glass jar because I think these things all have to be very clear. Now, I think we need a clear topic. It has to be realistic, and it has to have a clear context for our students. So one of the situations in which communicative activities go well in the classroom is when the kids are comfortable with the topic. You know, so they're talking about things which are familiar to them, things that they have discussed before, situations they know, and that makes a big difference. Then, of course, the preparation. Now, I'm not talking here only about the teacher preparation of the lesson, but the preparation that we do with the kids to get them ready for that communicative activity. And I think the key here has got to be clear instructions, clear specific instructions, clear support and guidance. Somebody said in the comments a moment ago when you sent in your ideas, somebody said that the kids need to have the vocabulary to be able to do the activity well. And I think that's absolutely true. So some of the support and some of the preparation is making sure that they have the language they need. You know, I'm not saying don't stretch them, don't push them, but they do need, you need to know that they've got enough language to be able to do this activity. Another thing that we need to be very clear about in terms of preparation is time. It takes time. It doesn't need to take a whole lesson. It doesn't need to take an hour, but I think we do need to allow time and space for the students to get ready for the communicative activity. And some of the activities we'll be looking at today, hopefully that will happen there. And also I think they need to have a very clear purpose. We talk about this a lot, that, you know, we ask our primary students to write something, to talk about something, to do something, and they need to know why. They need to know why they're doing it, you know? So why are they doing this activity? Who are they communicating to, and why? You know? And again, I think when we go on and look at the activities today, hopefully we'll see that will become clearer. So, as we said, successful communicative activities, we're talking about sharing information, sharing emotion, and sharing ideas. So let's have a look at some practical activities that we can do in the classroom that can help to get our students really communicating. Now, this is one of my favourite classic, it's an absolute classic communicative activity, which is the information gap. So, as we said, one of the reasons why we communicate in real life is that I've got some information and I want to tell it to you, and there's something that I don't know. I'm going to ask you, and you're going to share your knowledge with me. Now, it's a very simple activity. This one is designed for first of primary. So our littlest kids, I think we did this near the beginning of the year, must have been unit 1 or 2. And so, you know, they're first of primary, they don't have huge amounts of language, but it's an opportunity for them to actually be asking and answering questions with a real context. So if we think then about our three keys, if you like, that are going to help to make this activity successful. The topic, is the topic clear? Yeah, I think it's really clear. And I think the importance here is of the photos. Sometimes it's tempting to to kind of not include so much visual activity when they're going to go on and write on something or do the task. But I think the photos here make it very real. They make it very clear what we're talking about, you know. The preparation we'd be doing for this activity. For example, if we have, this is clearly an A-B activity. So one of us has got the information about the rabbit and the other one is going to ask the questions. So the one asking the questions would be together preparing what type of questions they're going to ask, preparing with a partner, practicing those question forms, and the others would be talking together with the partner to think about how they're going to respond. The purpose of it is super clear, you know. I've got these questions I'm going to ask you because I want to find out what animal you've got, what colour is it, if it's big or small, if it's fast or slow. Now, of course, this topic, it's here, we've got the photos here, but the ideal thing to go on and do next would be a personalised version of this, you know. So I love rabbits, but in my house I've got 2 cats. So I'd be taking in a photo of my cat and I'd be saying, when we've done this activity, I'd be saying, okay, now ask me about my animal using maybe the real cat in the online classroom. Sometimes my cats make an appearance, but probably a photo realistically. And it's a lovely opportunity for students to really talk about their own pets, talk about their own animals. If they don't have a pet, then usually their granddad does, or their cousin or their friend. Somebody always has an animal that they're happy to talk about. Now, this is another one that we're going to have a quick look at this video, which is at the sports centre. So let's just watch the video and we'll talk about what we could do with it.
Do you like sport, Zach? Yes, I do. I like sport. I'm good at sport. Can you swim? Yes, I can swim. I can swim very well. Can you ride a bike? I can ride a bike. I can ride a bike very fast. Can you skip? I can skip. I can skip very well. Oops. Can you run? I can run. Look, I can run very, very fast.
Okay, so again, the thing that I love about these videos is the real context that they give us, you know. In the classroom, whenever we're talking about different activities that kids can do, that they can't do, it's a very typical task to be doing. And of course, we say, can you swim? And we look at pictures of people swimming and we do gestures of swimming. It's a typical miming activity. But I think just to be able to see there the swimming happening actually in the swimming pool, it gives a very clear context. There's no doubt what we're talking about now. And I think the lovely thing of videos is that it takes us out of the classroom and into another context where we can see what's really happening. Of course, that's quite a simple little video. Again, it's for first of primary. And the idea of the video itself would be as a listening task or maybe to practice the language. But then I think it gives a very clear model to go on and do that same information gap with your partners. So we're watching the video where they're asking about the things they can do. And of course, there's nothing that our kids love more than to tell us how well they can do things. That they can run really fast, that they can swim really well, that they can ride a bike really far. They've got a new bike, you know, they're always dying to tell us these things. And so that opportunity to then go on and use that context. Again, if I'm asking and answering these questions with my classmates, I'm finding out more about them, It's giving me an opportunity to find things we have in common. It's giving me an opportunity to know what other people can do. And I think that that kind of opportunity to show off is also really important. It is important to kids that they can do these things well. And particularly everybody has their strengths, everybody has things that they're good at. And maybe the kid that's not that great at English, they're not getting 10 out of 10 in their English exam, but maybe they can swim really well and they can run really fast. And if they have an opportunity to communicate that to their classmates and to their teacher, then I think that's an opportunity that we need to be making the most of. Now, how we could go on from the video then would be, for example, as I say, we're going to ask our classmates, we're going to do an interview. But again, what we said, we need to be looking at the clear topic, the preparation, and the purpose. So part of the preparation, if we use a little information gap activity like this, then we're giving them support. We're giving them ideas of things to ask about. We're reminding them of some of the vocabulary that they know. And maybe before they go and ask the question, we watch the video, we talk about the video. Before they go and ask each other, maybe we need to be practicing those questions. Maybe we need to be checking with our partner that we can remember the words for all the different activities. Then we go and ask our partners and we find out who's the same as us. How many of us can swim? How many of us can do something? And that's a great opportunity, again, to be creating the group and giving them a chance to work together. Now, this from the same unit here, one of my favorite activities is the mini flashcards. Now, mini flashcards are one of those things which I think we've always, for teachers for years, we've always been using our own flashcards. And I think in recent years that we've realized how important the mini flashcards are. It's great. Now, I've talked before about in my classroom, particularly with the primary kids, I teach all different ages, but particularly with my groups of primary, I like to have a box of activities that children can go and work on together for example, for fast finishers, the classic mixed ability classroom that we've been talking about, where maybe somebody finishes quicker. I always have a box of activities where the students can go and take something to work on either individually or together. So it's a great opportunity for loads of communicative activities. And if you've got in your classroom the little mini flashcards from the different units, or if they've got them in their folder or in their bag, then I think there's so much they can do with that to be communicating with each other, They can be guessing, they can be comparing, they can do a show and tell. So I can pick one of my flashcards and say, can you skip? Yep, I can skip really fast. And it gives them that chance to continue to practice in a freer way at a later stage. At this time of year, we're coming back and we're revising everything that we've covered. And so to be able to go back with something like the mini flashcards, we can go back time and again. They can do lots of different activities with them that let them continue to practice, remember that vocabulary, remember that language of, yes, I can do it really well, I can do it really fast, in a communicative way with their partner by interviewing one another. Now, that's the activity we were looking at there would be for first of primary, but I also have some older kids, and so this is one that maybe would be a communicative activity to use in this case with approximately fifth of primary. Okay, now here this is a thinking skills task, which is there are a number of different topics that come in the book. You can talk about friends, they talk about jobs, they talk about different things, teamwork and so on. But here you've got some where they're going to read, agree or disagree, and discuss with a partner. So it's such a lovely topic, talking about good friends. And at the moment with the situation that we're in, friends are more important than ever, friends and family. So here are some things to consider your situation of good friends. Now, of course, to do this, to turn this into a communicative activity, is going to require a bit more preparation, a bit more. There's more to it. It's more complex. If you want to be talking about good friends, then you need more complex language. You need more complex ideas. So we need to see how to go about the preparation stages. So this one here, one of my favorites to do any infograph. This example is a star map. And so it's basically any situation where we're noting down our ideas of what we're going to talk about with our partners. This situation, the star map, helps you to define something. You think of 5 different ideas, write one idea in every point. Now, many of you might know about mind maps, and there's a theory which I personally would hold to, where mind maps actually help you to remember things because they reflect the connections in your brain. So if you write things down in a map shape or in some kind of visual shape where things are linked together, rather than in a list, then in some way that's more memorable, it means more to you, it connects better with your brain. And I know when I've been studying for exams myself, I've used different infographics and mind maps when I'm preparing things, and it certainly does help. So it's important, I think, for these situations when we want the kids then, they're in 5th of primary, we're wanting them to talk about something more complex. And so this is a great way to prepare that. It could be a star map, it could be a cloud, it could be, as I say, a mind map. There are lots of different types of infographics, but it does really help our students to organize their ideas, to think about them, to make sure they've got enough to say. That's one of the things that can sometimes get in the way of a successful communicative activity, that they don't know what to say. Maybe they have the language, but maybe they don't know what to say. So taking the time to think about ideas beforehand is going to help them with that. They then go on, in this situation, they're talking about their good friends, and then they start to talk amongst their friends in the class about who's a good friend there in the class. And again, this is creating those relationships, breaking those barriers. I'm not only talking about my friends from school or from home or from somewhere else. I'm talking about my friends who are here in the room with me now. And I think that's a lovely way to make our students feel more comfortable. If they feel more comfortable, they're going to learn more language. That's the situation. Now, the activities we're going to have a look at now would all probably come under the umbrella of drama. Now, drama is a big word in the language classroom. And so my question for you, again, I'd like to hear your ideas and hear your comments. How do you feel about drama activities? How do you as teachers and how do your students feel about drama activities in the classroom? See what people have to say.
Exactly. We'll give people a couple of seconds to write in their answers. Again, short answers. How do you feel about using or doing drama activities in the classroom? Not just you, but also your pupils. Well, while we're waiting for that, I mean, Fiona, when I was teaching, I'm just thinking about how I felt about using drama
that was my
activities.
question.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I think, particularly in the early days, I perhaps felt rather daunted by the idea, because my idea or concept of drama activities was a big performance that would involve a lot of preparation, organization. But maybe over time, I do think over time that I changed my attitude, and through training and learning from other colleagues, I realized that short, regular dramatic activities are actually incredibly effective and very motivating. So now the answers are all coming in. So let me focus on what people are saying. The students really enjoy it. It's fun. The more they do it, the more confident and creative they get. Useful, but one person does say it's noisy. It can be noisy.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic way to learn in context, use communicative competence and emotional intelligence. It's like killing two birds with one stone. They love it, and so because they love it, well, they're just involved and get on with it. They feel confident, very comfortable. One person says, I love doing drama activities. One other person says it can be difficult with children who haven't got much language, perhaps more difficult with lower primary. Another person is saying their pupils love role plays. So there's a lot of positive reaction here, and people seem to very much value the importance of drama in the classroom.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think I'm like you, Louise, that at the beginning when I started teaching all those many years ago, I was a little bit put off at the idea of drama because I thought it involved basically a performance, and that it had to be
Yes.
a big drama, shall we say,
Yes,
you know?
yes, and it was a
Um,
big drama when you thought of it in that way, and often, as a result, you sort of kind of put it off, no, put it on the back
yeah,
boiler. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
um,
Yeah. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there where you've said that it was a drama if you felt it was going to be like that. And I think drama is like anything in the classroom, which in my work I observe a lot of teachers and I give feedback on what they're doing and so on. But I think there's one thing that's absolutely key. If you as a teacher are not comfortable with something, it won't work. That is the fact of it. And I think drama is one of those situations. You've got to feel comfortable with it. You've got to feel that it's the right thing to be doing, and that'll make it work. I'm not saying it's easy. There were a couple of comments. Somebody said near the beginning, somebody said it's a mess. And I can relate to that. Sometimes it is a mess. It's noisy, of course. But I think generally speaking, they have a lot of value in the classroom. And so this is one of the quotes that I think is worth considering. Tell me and I'll forget. Show me and I may not remember. Involve me and I'll understand. So really, if people are doing something, that's what's going to make them understand it. And I think drama activities are a good example of that, where the kids are actually doing, they're learning by doing. It gives us, a lot of this was mentioned in the comments, it gives us a real life context. It promotes a lot of these things, creativity and so on. All of these ideas are also in the handout, which you'll be able to see later on. But it's, I think the key here is the confidence, the variety, and the fun. Those are all things that we want to be doing in our classroom. Here are some of the ideas of different things you could do. We're going to look at some examples coming up. Role plays, simulated situations, games, guided improvisation, or acting scripts. So there's lots of different things. And as I say, it doesn't need to be a performance. It doesn't need to be a big play, So this would be an example of a real life role play. This is one you would do maybe with sort of third of primary, more or less. And I love the fact that it's functional language. These things are typical things that we see. As I said, I teach lots of different age groups and lots of levels, and it's the typical thing that maybe with adult pre-intermediate students, you would be teaching them how to go to a restaurant and order a sandwich. But why not teach the kids? There's nothing better than when people come back from their holidays and the parents say to you, the kid was doing the ordering, the kid was speaking to the waiter and explaining what we wanted, and that's, what a great opportunity for them. So they would do this practice activity first. Obviously, that's the preparation. Just to go back there, the preparation is to check that they have the vocabulary that they're going to need to talk about their sandwiches. And then here, they are going to be acting out this role play. They've got all of the language there. I think the key here is the useful language. If we look at that little box on the right there of what can I get you? Have you got? Can I have? All of those, that functional language is what's going to help them really be able to communicate, rather than just always saying I want or can I have and yes you can. then to be able to say, what can I get you? It's so much more motivating for them to be using that kind of language there. And so then they would go on and do their role play together, if possible in the classroom. It's a bit more complicated in the online classroom, but if possible, then I like to set up a little table with a tablecloth. We have a menu that we prepare, and we have, with the younger kids, with the infants, I use a lot of plastic food. And so we get that out for these older kids, and they order what they want, they make up the sandwiches. And I think by acting it out, it's so much more motivating than just doing this activity from the book, to be able to actually act it out. And it's such a realistic situation, as I say, for them to then go on and use that language when they go off to travel somewhere, you know. A simulated situation would be this. It's a more classic kind of dialogue where you're giving them the language and they're using the language there. The role play, they have a situation where they're going to come up with what they're going to say. And this one, they're basically practicing the dialogue. Now, it might look a little bit less communicative, but of course it's a great opportunity to practice the intonation and the delivery, the pronunciation in particular, to give them the confidence to then go on and do the more personalized activities later, you know. Talking about interpersonal skills and personalized language, then I think some of these ones where they're talking about feelings are also really important. These are, you know, these things, we've got an example here. I've made it very small just to show you kind of the stages. But again, talking about the preparation, they need the time to think about it. How would you feel on your first day at a new club? How do you feel? You know, I'm quite an old adult now. I've lived a lot of situations, but I still feel slightly uncomfortable on my first day in places. And so think about that. How do you feel? Why do you feel like that? And then being able to practice that with your partner is such a great opportunity. Now, one of the things as well, we've been talking so far only about speaking activities, but I think there's also an opportunity to integrate all of the skills together, which anything can be turned into a communicative activity, really. Now, this is an example of a reading task. It's a reading extension. And what I've noticed in the last few years with my students of all ages is that their reading skills are not as good as they were 5 years or 10 years ago. Children don't read at length, and adults don't read at length as much as we used to. You know, we're on the internet, we're flicking between one thing and another. And so I do try as much as possible with my students to get them reading longer texts. And so I like to use those extra activities that give them the practice. But we can then go on and take that, turn it into a play. So we've got the play, I'm going to turn it into the last act of the play. Make some notes about what happens next, do the preparation, then write up the scene, and then they would act it out. So they've got the reading of the 3 scenes of the play, they prepare the 4th scene, they write it, and they act it out. And this is integrating all of the skills together. So they start off with the reading, they have the input, they know what the situation is, they know what the context is, it sets the scene. The writing gives them an opportunity to spark some ideas. It's much safer to write in another language than it is to speak. You have a chance to think about what you're going to do. You have more time to go back to make changes. It's less public. And so I think that stage of writing down your ideas is super important. Then they go on to do the speaking, performing and sharing. And then listening to one another, you would be asking them to act it out for their classmates, or if you've got a really ambitious drama situation, then for the school, for another class, for the parents, why not? And that gives the person who's listening the chance to evaluate and see a context there, which brings us back round to the reading. Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Trinity exams, the integrated skills in English, but they follow exactly this pattern of reading into writing and speaking into listening. And I think there's a lot to be said there for trying to integrate the skills together and not see things as separate activities, but seeing what we can take from one and take on to another. So I've got another have you say. It's our last have you say of the session. We've then got a couple of quick things to look at. What drama activities work well with your class? So you told us how you felt about it, but tell us what activities work particularly well with your primary classes.
Okay, so again, we'll just give you a couple of seconds to write in short answers to this question. So over to you. What drama activities work well in your class? What activities do you use to bring out those communicative abilities in a creative way? Role plays is coming
Yeah,
up. Yes, I've done an awful lot of role plays in class
yeah.
over the years. Chain of
I
questions
think
and answers. Yes. What else? Role plays is coming up a lot, a lot, a
role plays are
lot.
very popular.
Very popular. Short dialogues from stories, absolutely. Taking the characters and having a short dialogue, absolutely. Actually, thinking about stories, maybe continuing the story in some way and creating a dialogue based on the story, that would work as well. Again, it's finite. It's not a huge drama production, and
Yeah,
it's sort of a nice extension, isn't it, of the story. So yeah, role plays, stories, short dialogues, all of these
yeah,
are really popular. So thank you, everybody.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think there's a reason why role plays are so popular, and it's because they're such a great activity. I'm a huge fan of personalisation. I think it's really important in the primary class to have things that are personalised. It helps students to remember things. It helps students to be able to communicate what's important to them. But you need to remember that for us to be teaching language, to be able to give a richer language opportunity. The lovely thing about role plays is it does give you an opportunity to share ideas that are not your own and to say what you wouldn't normally say. And actually, from a language perspective, that's very important. I'm
Yeah,
always going to talk about my cat because I'm a fan of my cats. But maybe in my exam, I'm going to have to talk about horses, for example. And so just to have that chance to talk about something else, I think that's the beauty of the role plays. Definitely.
absolutely.
Okay, so just to finish off, I've got a couple more things that I was thinking about now. Obviously, when we're talking about real communication in the classroom, there's no better opportunity in the classroom than classroom language. So I always have all of this language around my classroom for the younger kids. And from the very first day, I want them to be using it. I want them to be saying, what does something mean? Can you help me? I don't understand, and so on, because that opportunity for real communication should never be missed. It's such a golden opportunity. Somebody mentioned earlier about opportunities, and it really is a golden one because I actually want to say this to my teacher or to my classmate because this matters to me right now. And so we always have those things around the classroom. Now, as I said, at the moment, I'm teaching in an online classroom, as I'm sure many of you are. And so we don't have these things around the classroom, but I do have some other language which I've been using a lot with my students. And this is a kind of classic language which I've noticed that over the last couple of months, my kids are really, really beginning to learn. So whenever there's any technical problems, they say, I'll log out and log in again. Never in my life have we talked so much in the classroom about logging in and logging out. But talking about webcam isn't working, your mic isn't working, you're muted. That's what my students keep saying to me. We have the platform that we use for my classes. The students go into different rooms and do different things. And so sometimes I'm silencing my microphone and I always forget to switch it back on. So they've learned to say, you're muted. And I think, again, let's not miss out on this opportunity for if you are teaching in an online classroom, then make sure that your kids are using this language, because it's something that they really want to say, and there'll never be a better opportunity than to say it in a real life context than now. So just to finish up, we've had a look at some different activities today. And if you've seen any of my sessions recently, I always finish with the same thing, but it's because I really like it. When you think about things, and you come to the end of a lesson, you come to the end of something that you've done, then there are three situations. You've got some ideas. So today we've talked about ideas and activities, or communicative activities. And so there might be an idea or an activity you're going to put in your suitcase because you're going to take it with you and use it now. There might be an idea or an activity that you would put in your fridge because you don't want to use it now, but maybe you'll come back and think about it in September or next year at another point. And then something that maybe you're just going to put it in the bin because you say, do you know what? I don't like that activity. I'm never going to use it. It's not going to work with my kids. Good. Put it in the bin. Don't use it. So my question to you is, what's in your suitcase? What activities or ideas from today's session have you found more useful and you think you might be able to take with you to use?
Okay, so again, we'll give you a couple of seconds to reply to that. So what activity or activities would you put in your suitcase now to use in class? Role play and drama.
Yay!
Yeah, top of the list at the moment. Excellent.
Excellent. Yeah.
I actually really liked, for the lower primary, the information gap, but with the photos of
Yeah.
giving it that real context. I think that's terribly effective and actually can be adapted to all levels. Give children a real interaction with pupils, songs and chants, drama, 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 drama. Drama is really up there. And
Yeah.
also another person really liked the scaffolding, providing the scaffolding. I think your point about the interesting topic, the topic needs to be clear, it needs to be appropriate, then there needs to be sufficient preparation and in order for it to be successful. And I think, that comes out in the answers here, giving them sufficient language scaffolding, but also sufficient scaffolding in terms of content and ideas, as you say, when we're communicating. You're under pressure, aren't you, in the moment to respond, but you need time to process, first of all, what you're being asked to respond to and come up with ideas that make sense. So great. So
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. Lots of ideas for the suitcase.
Yeah, I think just coming back to those three key, remember the clear topic with the clear context, really important. The preparation, they need the instructions, they need the language, and they need the time. And the purpose of why am I communicating this? Who am I communicating it to? And what are they going to do with that information? That's Absolutely. To me, that's the key. So that's us come to the end of the session, and I'm inviting any questions that people might have to ask.
Excellent. Okay, so yes, people, if you have any questions or comments that you would like to send in now, please do. Let's see what people say. I want to say thank you very much, Fiona, for the ideas. I think it's been really practical. It's been great to look at, as was the case with Dave, to look at the different levels and look at the variety, but also to consider that the ideas from one level can be adapted to another level as well. People are saying, any input on how we can plan a drama activity in our online classes? Yeah, I suppose it depends. I mean, an online activity like a role play, I suppose the topic needs to be very clear. It could be based on some other input, such as a listening or a reading or a story, and then the preparation, the time to do it, the language input is necessary. I don't know if you want to comment more on that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the thing about online classes is it depends very much on the context that you're teaching in.
Yes.
If you're teaching in a virtual classroom environment, like I am, then we have the situation where the kids are on camera, they're able to see each other, they can see me, I can see them. Not all of them. That's another issue sometimes, you know. I think a lot of it depends on the size of the group, the technical situation. But if they are able to see each other, then they can still do those role plays, even if they can't see each other through chat, being able to do things in that way. And I think it's a question. It depends so much on the situation that you're in, but it's a question of taking what works in the classroom and maybe thinking about it backwards of what's the purpose, you know, is we want an opportunity for our kids to be able to share some information about themselves. So how can I do that in this context? Am I able to get them to do a presentation? That's a lovely way for kids to prepare something that maybe it's a bit more individual, but it's still communicative. If you have an online classroom, they can prepare a presentation of some sort. It depends on your context. Maybe they can send you a photo or send you a picture to then talk about in the class if you're able to show that, and invite the partners to ask questions about it. Things like that. I think it depends very much. If you do have a relatively complex, sort of complete online classroom, then things like role plays and so on are doable in there, you know.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for all your comments and questions and all the participation in both talks today. Thank you, Fiona, so much for the ideas. It's been really useful. I think it's been very motivating and very practical. I think people will go away with a suitcase that is full of very ready to use ideas for the next course.